Hi, I'm back with another recap of This Is Us. Alright, so you know the drill. Make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so you guys can get notifications for when my next video drops. Alright, just a reminder that I am still doing the giveaway for the Carbon Cocoa Kit, so if you guys are interested, go ahead and click the link to the video, follow those instructions, and maybe you too can win this kit. Rebecca doesn't like that Jack is always saying yes to Kate. We see that there is a flashback to them on Halloween night. We see Rebecca and Jack dressed up as Cher and Sunny, and Cher and Sunny apparently had Michael Jackson, some veterinarian, and a hobo as kids. And we see that Kate is not happy with her veterinarian costume and wants to be Sally from Grease. So she asks if she can change her costume, and Rebecca of course is not happy with this, but Jack says that she can, and they get into this little argument about him enabling her and always saying yes, and by saying yes she's not going to get used to any no's, and later on in life she's going to be hit by nothing but no's and she won't be able to counter it or know how to deal with it. And Jack counters this by saying, you know what, that might be true, but you're the one who's always giving Randall his way. And we see that because of this, Randall has this very destructive kind of behavior. It's just like that enabler-enablee relationship that they have. So now we kind of understand why Randall is so crazy like he is. In this episode, we see that the big three are in their 20s, and we get to know a little bit more about them and their past. Kate was a waitress, which is shocking because I didn't know that she was waiting tables before. Surprisingly enough, this is a big shocker for me. I was like, what? Apparently Kevin wasn't always an actor. He actually was somebody who would shampoo people's hair. And we see that Randall was a father-to-be. They were getting ready for his daughter, his firstborn daughter's birth, so that was pretty big. Nothing has really changed about Randall. He's always been rigid and he is still rigid now. There's actually this like really funny thing. Well, I was laughing about it. I thought it was funny. Randall is really trying to get the baby's room all together, and he's trying to put a fan up, and because the fan is not working as like he would want it to be, he's kind of freaking out about all of this. And Beth is like, it's just a fan, like it doesn't matter if the baby has a fan or not. And for him it is like the end of the world kind of thing. Again, I've never really seen anybody make such a big deal about a fan before. I live in a house where like half of the fans in this house don't work at all, and I don't see my dad freaking out about it. Beth is pregnant and Rebecca comes to visit the family, and Rebecca and Beth get to talking, you know, about baby stuff and about getting ready for the baby, and of course mans are being brought up, and Beth brings up Randall and how Randall is just, you know, being Randall, and how it's just the things that he's doing is just, I wouldn't say annoying, but I could kind of see how it is annoying because I'm pregnant and it's hot, and you know, I'm carrying your child and you're over here freaking out about like a fan and stuff. And so she goes ahead and tells Rebecca about the things that are going on. Randall comes down from the stairs and overhears this, is not too happy about it. He's like, you do know that I have ears, right? And he's like, I'm gonna go get the fan because the fan is bothering me. I don't want to have this hanging over my head. And makes a really bad pun about the fan actually going to be over his head. And I was like, ha ha ha, I see what you did there, because I make bad puns all the time, but this one was like legit worse than any pun that I could ever say. It's Halloween in the Pearson household, and the Pearsons are getting ready to go out trick-or-treating. Randall, being the control freak that he is, has actually made out a list and mapped out. You know what, honestly, before I say what I'm gonna say, I just want to say I would want to be friends with Randall because he just seems like the kind of person with a plan. He's a man with a plan. He knows what it is that he wants to do. He made a map mapping out everybody's houses there, and he basically said like, okay, this house has like the full-size candy bars, this house just gives out pennies or something like that. So he seems like the kind of person I would want to go trick-or-treating with because he just knows like the layout. And so if you are that kind of household and you kind of do that kind of stuff, then be prepared for like major shade being thrown at your house. Which reminds me, I have a friend, I hope that they did not do this tonight, but I had a friend who was telling me that her whole plan was for Halloween to put out an empty bowl with a little paper on it that says feel free to help yourself, and that she was never planning on putting candy in it so that kids would just think that the kids before them got candy, but she wouldn't look like a bad person. So if you are watching this, I hope you did not do it because you're a horrible person. We see that it is Halloween time in the Pearson house. Everybody wants to do their own thing. We see that Kate and Kevin want to go to a haunted house, so Jack ends up taking them. Kevin has always had his sister's back. This is of course brother-sister goals at the haunted house. Kevin actually bribes some boy with candy to hold his sister's hand, and it worked out, I guess, because Kate had no idea. She just thought that this cute boy was holding her hand, but Jack ends up telling Kevin, did you bribe that boy with candy to hold your sister's hand? So we see that Kevin has always just been a really good brother to his sister, always caring, always loving. But on the other side of town, we see that we have Rebecca and Randall. Randall did not want to go with his siblings because he had, again, this whole map of how he wanted to go trick-or-treating. Because he's so rigid and so stubborn and stuck in his ways, he didn't want to go with them, and they end up going trick-or-treating. At one point, there's this house that Rebecca tells him that they should go to because there's literally no line. And he kind of throws this big hissy fit about it. Again, he's not used to going off of plan. He's just very stuck in his ways, like very, if you could say he has blinders on, he has blinders on. She, of course, talks to him and tells him, you know what, nothing is ever set in stone. You can change it. Nobody's telling you that this is how it has to be. And we end up finding out that he just is kind of bitter this whole trip, has an attitude. They end up sitting down. She tells him what's going on, and he's like, you know what? The Larsons said that you guys lost a baby, and did you guys replace me with him? He thought that they, you know, lost some baby like at a mall or something, you know, like just some random lost babies out there, and we have just like some random little boy that is just took this baby's place. And of course, this is not true. Rebecca ends up sitting him down and tells him the truth, how there was another baby, his name was Kyle, but he died. That in their hearts, they had room for 3 babies. They took Randall, and Randall was the baby that was supposed to be. This kind of makes Randall sad because Randall said, you know what, like the twins look like you, but I don't. And of course, I mean, it doesn't take rocket science to see that there's a difference between Randall and the twins. They look nothing alike because, again, they're not blood brothers. There is these questions, and Rebecca tells Randall that they were always planning on telling him something that you would want to say with your spouse, but because of like the kids wanting to do their own thing and Jack going with them, they weren't able to tell him together, so she ends up having to tell him herself. I mean, it is better to know than never know, because I mean, you're gonna end up growing up one day wondering why your mom is a way different skin tone than you are. Kevin and his friend Zeke are trying to be actors, and of course Zeke ends up getting an audition and Kevin doesn't. They go to this like party where they have like executive producers and stuff like that, and while Zeke is away, Kevin goes to the producer and tells him, you know, it's kind of weird that you casted Zeke for this part because he's supposed to be like this tall, handsome guy. Zeke is, you know, a little bit shorter, different kind of stature, a little stocky. It just doesn't feel that Zeke is the one that was meant for this part, and he's like, you know what, like I wouldn't mind coming in for like an audition and like showing you what it is that I'm about. Producer is not okay with this. He's like, yeah, you know what, like I'm pretty happy with who we casted. There's other opportunities, like you'll be fine. Zeke ends up finding out about this, and we see that later on, Kevin, when he gets the phone call about the new baby's birth, he's looking at a headshot of his own face, and Zeke wrote some pretty profane things about Kevin on there because, again, Kevin is being a fake friend. When something good happens for your friend, of course you're supposed to be happy. Yay for you, be supportive. And you got Kevin over here basically saying like, you know what, you made a wrong choice. I'm way better than he is. Kevin was being a little bit of a hater. It makes sense why Zeke would be mad. As I had said earlier, Kate works as a waitress, and so while she is a waitress, there's this guy who always comes in to flirt with her. On Halloween day, she decides to go to a bar where she finds him and a bunch of friends, and he doesn't really look too comfortable that she's there. He asks if they can go talk in a quiet place. She invites him back to her place and finds out that this man is married, and when she confronts him about it, he says, well, if you knew, why did why did we do this? Like, why, what was your reasoning behind this? And she ends up coming to understand that a lot of the things that she does, she doesn't really think through. She just does these things to make herself feel better as a coping mechanism. Randall goes to a hardware store to go pick up a brand new fan, and while he is there, he goes ahead and vents about the new baby and his breakdown to some random hardware store worker. And it's funny because I don't know if you guys have ever had this, but there are people out there that you meet where you can just say hi to them and they're just spilling out all their problems and stuff, and you're just like, nice to meet you. Like, I hope everything works out for you. This is kind of what happened with the hardware store worker. He tells him, why are you telling me all of this stuff? And he ends up giving Randall some really good advice about the new baby and how he should take it on, because Randall, of course, being Randall, has anxieties about being a new father, and how in work, if he makes mistakes, you know, it's just money, but with a new baby, it's just not that easy. This man gives him some good advice, ends up giving him a flyer that has like Tessa or on there, Tessa or whatever. It's a brand of a fan, and we end up seeing that this paper with this name on it ends up being very important at the end of this episode. Beth was supposed to be induced, but because of all the circumstances, I'm guessing stress and stuff like that, she ends up going into labor, and this all goes down while Randall is at this hardware store. So as Randall is wrapping up from his whole venting session, he gets a phone call from Rebecca that it is showtime, the baby is coming. So he books it back to his house just in time to be there to witness the birth of his daughter. Beth gives birth to the baby at home. It is a very nice home birth. Rather easy, I must say. It looked like it was about one push and the baby's out. We see that Rebecca must have dropped a plate or something like that. She's picking up shards in the kitchen and she's crying, and so Randall goes and sees his mother and asks her what seems to be the problem. She says that this was the happiest moment of her life, that they're happy tears, but that she has come to the realization that Jack won't be there to be witness to this whole ordeal of what's going on, and that he won't be here for any of the future things that are to happen. And of course this is heartbreaking because Jack, we see, is just like this big patriarch of the whole family. He's the one that kind of just kept everybody together, and so for this big momentous event of a brand new grandchild being introduced into the family, and for Jack not being there to witness it, is something very hard. You can see it's also hard for Randall as well. Randall tells Rebecca that they were planning on naming their son, if it was a boy, or the baby if it was a boy, Jack, in memory of their father. Back at Kevin's place, Kevin and Kate are acting like their lives are going perfectly the way that they want to, because it's kind of bittersweet. We see Randall seems to have everything all together. He just had a brand new baby. He seems happy despite the breakdown and, you know, the whole fan ordeal. He seems to be having his life together, and they make a joke about it, saying, you know what, Randall seems to have everything together. We should have things together maybe 5 years from now, 5 years behind. So they're like, yeah, you know what, we're good. Like, our lives are good. Kate says, I have this new guy in my life. He's nice. And Kevin's like, I'm an actor. Like, it's going great. And, you know, they're sitting there like, And then they end up telling the truth to each other. They're like, you know what? No, life is not that good. The guy that I was talking about, yeah, he's a married man. And Kevin ends up telling his sister, you know what? I haven't had an audition in 6 months. And then he later is like, actually, it's been like about a year that I haven't had an audition. So we just see that sometimes, again, you're happy for other people, but you can't help but feel a little bit negative about the things that are going on in your life. So to try to make yourself feel better, you kind of exaggerate or put on this facade that things are way better than they actually are, because they have such a special bond. We see that it's so easy for them to tell the truth, so they end up telling the truth to each other, and they're like, you know what, life is not that great right now, but it's bound to happen for us too. Something that you might have missed in this episode was that Kate was in a car looking at two little girls on Halloween day passing by a house. We end up finding out at Kevin's house that Kevin tells Kate, you can't keep doing this. Apparently what Kate likes to do is she likes to park outside of where their house used to be at, and he ends up telling her, you know, you can't just keep doing that. Can't be in your car eating fast food all the time. You got to understand that he's not coming back. He's not there anymore. This, of course, is a tearjerker for me. It kind of made me cry. Kate is just not reacting well to her father's death. I mean, who would? Of course, this is like a weird time of the year. Your brother just had a baby, and again, this is something that you wish that your dad would be there for, to witness, and I think it's just hitting everybody pretty hard. But we do realize this like little secret that if you didn't pay attention to the beginning of her just sitting in her car looking at these little girls, then you wouldn't have understood why Kevin said what he said. Rebecca goes to the hospital to go see the brand new baby, and while she is there, she has a flashback of the first time that she went into the nursery room where she saw Randall for the first time and introduced herself. What she does with the new baby Tessa is she goes ahead and introduces herself again, just like she did with Randall, and gives her a whole speech about how life is different and it's hard and things happen. Through this whole dynamic, she talks about how Jack was always, you know, there for her. There was always somebody there for her in her hardest time. He's just such an important person, and it's really sad that he's not here to witness that. Tells the baby, you know what, like, all of this stuff is happening, but life ends up turning out really good. Like, your life is going to turn out really good, and we're basically all here for you. Rebecca, being, you know, the proud grandma that she is, goes home to update her Facebook, where she posts a picture of her brand new granddaughter, and when she does, she gets a very important DM from somebody. And this had me like really shook to my core, because things really do go down in the DM, you know, like, people have always said there's like songs out there that talk about like DMing and, you know, like you'll find love in your DMs. It is possible, but we'll talk about that some other time. We see that she gets a DM, and it is from Miguel. Miguel ends up talking to her and says, you know what, it's been so long since I've talked to you, like, how have things been? Again, it has been a long time, because you can only tell that maybe they haven't seen each other since Jack's death, which happened years ago. The big three were like, what, they were like in their teens, maybe 16 years old. And we see that now this is happening around 2008. This is around the time that Obama and Biden were running for office. We see that a large stretch of time has passed, and he lives in Houston, Texas now. So he ends up reaching out to her, and he's like, how have things been? And, you know, her first reply is, oh, you know, I'm hanging in there. But she ends up like reconsidering this whole reply, ends up like backspacing like a lot, and ends up saying, I'm good, how are you? So we see that this kind of opens up this whole thing of how they started talking. Maybe from this episode on, we're gonna see that this relationship continues, they get married, because we do know that they end up getting married. I just want to say that she was pretty loyal for the most part, because I thought that they got together right after Jack's death, but that apparently didn't happen. So she stayed pretty loyal to Jack for a long time, because again, keep in mind, Miguel was Jack's best friend. So alright, you guys, so that's going to be a wrap for the video. This one was a little bit more interesting than last week. I can say that there was honestly so much that we learned about the past, so this was really good. If you guys agree with me, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe, hit the little bell so you guys can get some future notifications. Also, if you guys have any predictions, or you guys just want to talk about what you guys thought about this video, go ahead and comment in the comment box below. I will be talking to you guys and posting up any comments that I see on this video. Also, if you guys want to win the Carbon Cocoa Kit, do not forget to click the video in the description box so you guys can follow those rules, and so you too can win this awesome kit. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your guys' week, and I will see you guys in the next